So over the summer, I had a job opportunity in Phoenix, and it made a whole lot more sense to road trip out there instead of buy 6 weeks worth of a rental car. And it was something I wanted to do because I haven't been out west in a pretty long time, and I knew I wanted to take my time and do some good photography. I picked up way too much film, some of which I'm still working through today, but I shot a shit ton. I have taken some pretty damn good photos and saw a whole bunch of stuff that I'm really proud of, and I'm excited to share all of that over however long this is going to take. It's been a while since I've had motivation to sit down and get all this stuff ready, but I think it's gonna be well worth it.
We got the cooler. Oh, nice.
Day one, we're going from where we live at, North Carolina, to Hendersonville to break up the 8-hour drive to Nashville. We're getting there relatively early, so it'll be a leisure introduction to the drive, but all told, in 9 days, I'm doing 2,700 miles, so we're definitely going to see literally the entire country, which is going to be amazing. So yeah, day one of 9, I guess.
We got a church. Church. Praise the Lord.
I've been kind of playing around with which of the two lenses on my Pentax I like the most. My 28 and then my 50. And honestly, for architecture, I'm thinking that wide, or just in general, I'm thinking that my 28, has been serving me a lot more than my 50. It just lends a bigger sense of scale to the scene. And it's a basic picture of a little historical prison in downtown Hendersonville, but I honestly love how simple the colors are that ended up pretty pastel for what it is. Day one was cake. We did 200 miles over like 2 hours and then an hour and a half. Now we're in Hendersonville, which is right outside of Asheville, North Carolina. Tomorrow we got a 5.5 hour drive to Nashville, where we have a really nice hotel. So yeah, that's day one of 9-ish, give or take.
Look at this thing right here. That's cool. That's really cool.
After our religiously early dinner in downtown Hendersonville, I found this like mechanic shop or whatever with a really cool looking old tractor sitting in the junkyard or wherever it is. One of the workers came over and asked what I was doing. I said, "Hey man, just a photographer. It's whatever." And it's pretty cool stuff you got back there. And honestly, I've said this before. I don't know if I said it on a video or privately, but it's really giving kind of magazine color. The colors are super pastel, but it's still kind of flat, which honestly I like. Obviously, the tractor and the fence kind of are in the same layer, and then there's a little bit of the buildings in the background, but I like how the tractor is framed up a little bit off center, especially with the super saturated reds. It looks pretty cool. Day 2, we're doing about 320-ish miles today from Hendersonville, North Carolina to Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville is one of the places we kind of splurged out a little bit with the hotel, and thankfully we're crossing a time zone today, so we're gonna get an extra hour to be downtown or wherever. We're about to head through the bulk of the Appalachians, crossing over the border where that hurricane hit the hardest. So yeah, I was here like a week ago, but now we're heading back through Knoxville to stop over and see somebody. But yeah, day 2 should be relatively chill besides the rain, but it's the Smokies, so it's always raining. So yeah. So this is the first caffeine-fueled what if of the trip, I think. As commercial air travel became more cheap and viable and people road tripped less, how did that affect people's knowledge of where things are? Like, instead of flying from Raleigh to Vegas and skipping all the in-between, we're seeing, oh, we're going through the Appalachians, we're going through the Smokies, which are a subset of the Appalachians, we're going through the Great Plains. Like, if you don't have road tripping, you don't know where anything is, and you just become another dumb American. So, I'm gonna look into that. Fucker. We officially just passed into Central Time. We've got about 2 hours left to Nashville. We're gonna chill at the hotel for a bit and then go out, find some music, and have a beer. It's been, besides Knoxville driving, which if you know, you know, it's been relatively chill for the driving today. So, and it's actually not raining, which, like I said, it was going to. So it's been, we have great views of the Appalachians as we've been driving through them. But yeah, we got 2 hours left to Nashville, and then yeah, day 2. Yeah, welcome to Tennessee, or I mean, fucking, where are we? Nashville. Traffic. I really have to pee. We got 10 minutes left to the hotel, so it's all good. Made it to our hotel, the Union Station in Nashville. This place is immense. We made it to the Union Station Hotel in Nashville after a good bit of traffic today and also a rainstorm, which scared the shit out of me, honestly. Now loading up my Mamiya for the first time on this trip with some HP5, partly because it's cloudy outside. We're gonna go out, and I feel like Nashville as a city is gonna look cool in black and white, but also because the hotel we're in is really kind of old-timey as it is, so black and white with the architecture inside, I think it's gonna look really cool, especially on the format of 120 film. But yeah. Honestly, I think my biggest regret out of this whole trip is that I only shot a single roll of black and white. Granted, where I shot it was pretty cool. I did it in downtown Nashville. But I've been doing a lot of printing in black and white, and up until recently, color has been giving me hell. So just having black and white out of the gate has been useful. The hotel we stayed in was kind of bougie, I'm not gonna lie. It was the Union Station, so it's got this really like 1920s train station kind of vibe, because it was an original station, and they just have these beautiful chandeliers in the lobby, and I love the way that the black and white really adds some character to these. I have a lot more color photos because I had my Ultramaxx still in my Pentax, but I think the black and white just works so much better in my opinion. Okay, so this is probably the most terrifying angle I've ever taken, and I already took 2 pictures on black and white because I really want to get it right, but look at this. This shot of the stairwell has grown on me a lot. I love the patterns of like the repeating stairs going down. I think it's really beautiful. I was literally hanging off the banister to get this shot, and I took it twice to make sure it was exposed correctly, so I'm glad at least got something to show for it. The lighting was bad, so I was shooting this at like as wide open as my Mamiya gets at 4.5. So the focusing is a bit blurry. I think the focal plane landed on like the banister in the railing, but I just think it's a pretty cool photo, honestly. I haven't printed it just yet, but I'm wondering on the texture of it, where I could crop in and make some pretty interesting prints. But yeah, I'm not disappointed at it at all. Right before we got back to the hotel, it started pouring rain. AC/DC was in town on their like 8th Firewall tour, so a whole bunch of people were in town with their AC/DC shirts. We still got to have a beer and listen to some live music, as is kind of standard for Nashville, but it was really cool being back now that I can drink, and seeing how each individual bar has its own character. Like literally you walk down, there's a different band playing every single day. I got some pretty cool pictures of some of the musicians as I was walking by. A note of interest, I'm interlacing some of my mom's photos with my photos, which were taken on her phone, and whenever they're there, they're gonna have a little dragonfly print in the bottom corner. Breakfast. So we hit our first 75-mile-an-hour speed limit of the trip, which means we're in the middle of fucking nowhere. Arkansas. We just passed through Memphis, and you can already tell the landscape is definitely starting to change. It's wetlands, you know, it's kind of starting to get kind of flat. The trees are thinning out a little bit more, not as much as they're going to later in the Great Plains, but yeah. Welcome to Arkansas. Get the come on in. Yeah. Arkansas. The drive from Nashville to Little Rock was really uneventful. It was basically nothing but farmland for 6 hours, and Little Rock itself isn't really the most amazing city. Like, we didn't even leave the hotel, and I tried to do some nighttime photography, even bracketed a whole bunch of shots to try and get some star trails or whatever, but they just don't really speak to me that much. And not to say that the photography doesn't get better in the trip, but this was definitely like 3 days. It was hitting me and hitting both of us. That this is gonna be a long way. But it was nice to settle down and kind of just chill for the night. Day 4, we have 150 miles until we cross the border of Oklahoma. We're actually, before we hit Oklahoma City and Weatherford, we are going to stop at, we're going to veer onto Route 66 and go to that soda shop, Pops. Mainly, well, one for the disgusting sodas, we're going to try some of those later, but also because it's got some really, really cool architecture, and it'll be a chance to see Route 66 as well. We got to deal with post Little Rock. I guess this is rush hour traffic right now, but once we get into Oklahoma, it should open up. But oh, there's an accident ahead with all the lanes blocked. This is wonderful. Anyway, well, we're gonna deal with this now. Wunderbar. The back half of Arkansas is actually really, really pretty. We're getting close to we're in the mountains, or hills, I guess. I don't even know. But thankfully that traffic this morning didn't last longer than it did. We only stuck in it for half an hour, so. But we're gonna keep on trucking. Yeah. Oklahoma. Yeah. Oklahoma. Immediately entering Cherokee Nation. Made a detour at Route 66. We're at Pop's Soda Fountain with all that disgusting ass soda, but let's see how bad it can get. I'm not sure yet. Originally in this trip, I was just expecting to stay mostly on 40 and do Route 66 actually on the way back. But thankfully we were able to veer off and do a lot of the side of the road kind of stuff as we were going. So as we made our way into Oklahoma, we went to Pops, which is the famous gross soda place on Route 66. And this isn't as pastel as Portra 400 usually is. It's pretty flat, but the little bit of color that is in the photo really, really pops. God damn, I didn't mean to do that. Anyway, all to be said, this this photo, it's really grown on me, especially how the worker's kind of just to the left of the sign. Might crop it in a little bit, but as a photo, I like it. It's good. Yeah, Route 66 officially. I didn't even realize that we'd be staying on Route 66 in Weatherford today. Well, I knew we were staying in Weatherford, but I didn't know it was literally on Route 66, which is nice. So, yeah. There's no neon, obviously, because it's daylight, but I think that's probably what you get more when you get to like Arizona and New Mexico. But yeah, today was technically another function drive, but it was through a pretty nice area of the country. We saw some pretty crazy lightning storm. No tornadoes, thankfully, but yeah. In the name of spontaneity, originally in Weatherford, I picked it because there was an air and space museum, but I didn't realize that it was literally on Route 66. So as we were going to our hotel to check in, I saw this really cool historical filling station that is so old they even advertise leaded gasoline on the pumps. The Portra is really pulling some weight here. The sky was super gray, but with the almost neon red of the pumps, and that little bit of rust on there, it's really cool. It was interesting to see all the stuff is just out there. I don't know who it's owned by or if it's maintained. I think the whole point is that it's not maintained. But I'm not sure how much longer all this stuff is going to be there before it gets either developed or just falls down. So I think it was really great to go and see and kind of experience that little look into the past with film. It's definitely really special.
Religious pilgrimage to the Blue Whale of Catoosa, which to us was somewhat of a holy site. All right, here's
Day 5, we are leaving Weatherford, Oklahoma right now. Today's actually going to be a pretty stop-filled day because we're actually on Route 66, or bordering Route 66 right now. So we're going to do a couple of the stops as we get into Texas and New Mexico. And then when we get closer to Santa Fe, we're going to veer off of 40 onto Route 66 and kind of do like a little turnaround to get there. So it's gonna be a good day. It's like, I think total it's about 7 hours of driving, which is much. But we gain an hour crossing a time zone into New Mexico, and if we just stop enough, it'll be fine. We've done that the past day anyway. So in less pretty part of the country. So yeah. Route 66.
this is another one of those things that's like literally on the side of the road. The lighting was getting super cool, and it was honestly just surreal that this water tower is just kind of out there. I think my favorite view of it is probably the one of it as a standalone, although the one with the smokestack on the left is definitely one that I appreciate as well. The vastness of the Texas landscape was kind of surreal. I definitely felt it later as we headed on to one of the next stops, but it was just a windy landscape with almost nothing out there but the highway and just these little stops along the way. But it was definitely super cool to see.
After stopping in Amarillo at the Cadillac Ranch, it's like a switch went off. The landscape changed from the Great Plains into clay, and we're getting into the desert, which is something I've been looking forward to for a very long time. So we're 14 miles outside of New Mexico. We're going to stop in about 45 minutes in Tucumcari, another spot on Route 66. But it's just beautiful out here. It's crazy. Welcome to Mountain Time in New Mexico. Honestly, out of all the state entrances that we've seen so far, that one right there, that's pretty fucking cool. It's got a gate. Land of Enchantment. Entering Mountain Time Zone.
Completely ignore the fact that I totally didn't load that film backwards in the shot. You know, I changed it later, so I didn't have to change it because it was fine. Pastel, we're officially on Route 66, even though we've been on Route 66 for the past 2 days. But pastel everywhere. I didn't get to see any neon signs because we were too exhausted to go outside at nighttime. But even during the day, the motel with its faded, it's still vibrant coloring is really cool. I've successfully printed this in black and white. I do love the color better, and I especially love how dark the shadow is underneath the awning, and especially with the clouds in the sky in the background. It's just great. This is, without exaggeration, the best photo from the whole trip. I don't know how long this truck has been sitting there or who left it there, but I absolutely adore this whole shot. There's a surprising amount of color in the image, even though it's a, blank desert. But met up with Toe Mater, that's just kind of him. He's sitting right there. This is another one that I printed pretty successfully in black and white with a shit ton of contrast, and I just absolutely love it. And hopefully this is the one that's going to win me a little bit of money and in the spring as I'm doing the art show or art sale, whatever it is. Yeah, this is my baby. I love this photo. I love this photo so much. Although I didn't get to do some neon photography or shoot literally any Cinestill, even though I bought 5 rolls for the trip, I knew that being in Santa Fe with its super high elevation would be great for some star trails. So I just parked myself on the side of the road and sat for as long as I felt comfortable for. It was only about 45 minutes for this exposure, and I didn't get that much motion for the trails itself, but as a consequence I got super overexposure on the cars passing by, yet still having enough detail in the sky to see the stars moving. And honestly, I haven't made a decision yet between black and white versus color long exposure, but I'm definitely going to do some long exposure black and white star photography with one of the toys I'm getting in a couple months or in a month for Christmas. But I'm not going to say anything, but if you know, you know. I'm just saying. Some shit's coming out soon. That's be my toy, but it's over there for now. Anyway.
Good morning. Good morning. We're officially in Arizona and Pacific Coast time, given the time of year and that they don't do daylight savings. So officially it's now 11:40. And now that I think about it, that's the good sign right there. That's a good sign right there. Damn. We have about an hour left until we get to Winslow, Arizona. As a stopover before we have another hour-ish, hour and a half to Sedona. So the landscape hasn't changed too much from what we've been seeing in New Mexico, but it's still beautiful. And yeah, that's Arizona. Day 6.
at this point, I've still got another roll of Ektar loaded, and I don't really know where it's truly applicable, but I'm super surprised at how these gas station shots turned out. There's another one down the road that we didn't stop at because it was posted no trespassing, but this was right before we were on the way to Sedona. We were both getting kind of pissy being in the car for so long, but I was able to convince my mom, hey, I know we've already stopped a couple times today, but I need to get at least some gas stations, like some proper, like, fucked up gas stations on film. And I mean, the medium format speaks for itself. It's pretty much zero grain, or medium format and super low ISO as it is, and yet still the detail is crazy. I love how it looks like the roof of the enclosure could fall down at any minute, and yet it's still intact. I think this was an old shell? I don't even know. But it does have like the kind of ancient gas pumps as well. Not as ancient as the ones from Weatherford, but still some really cool stuff that we stopped for.
Good morning, Sedona.
Honestly, I'm kind of torn about Harman Redscale because I shot a roll of it when I went to Denver and I got a whole bunch of good stuff, but now I shot it in Sedona and I got like 3 photos that I think are keepers. It was based off the original formulation of Phoenix, which was super fine in its latitude, but I mean, some of these were just completely underexposed. This is one of the ones that I did get to do that came out well, and you know, Redscale film with Red Rocks of Sedona were really cool. I think I haven't shot it yet. I want to do some Lomo Redscale because it's been out for longer. It's more, I think it's more stable of a film stock, but I'm not going to touch Harman Redscale for a while. I don't even think they make the same formulation anymore because they came out with Phoenix 2. But yeah, some of these are just the absolute coolest thing that we did when we were in Sedona was we got to go to a special trail because we booked a shaman It's called A Shamanic Land Journey. But we got some really interesting history about like the rocks and the spirituality of the place of Sedona. And she took us up onto this pinnacle where we got a complete 360 view of like the valley, and we could see where we were staying. And just the magic of these photos speak for itself. I shot these during golden hour, so there's basically no excuse for bad photos, and it really, you know, it goes to show for itself. I should probably take my own advice and shoot when the lighting is good, because good lighting leads to good photos, but I'm basically deaf at this point from all the drumming. So it might take me a little bit longer to figure that out, but slowly, we're getting there.
Is that just this time of year with the blooming?
Yeah, there's a couple of times a year, but usually spring, yes. So,
Not to point out the obvious, but it's November. I shot these photos in May, so they've been sitting for a good long while, but I think it's actually kind of nice because it's been so long since I've taken them. I can look at them from a fresh perspective. It was honestly really special seeing just how the people changed as I moved across the country. I'm definitely road tripped out for a long time. I overplanned significantly. Obviously, there's only one video when I had planned to do like 7, which, God, that was wishful thinking. But I'd rather do one big long project than a bunch of different little projects on its own. I hope this was as fun watching as it was living, because 95% of the work that I did over this trip is stuff that I'm very proud of. Even if it's not something that appeared in the video, it's something I've come back later and printed or just come to appreciate. But I set out to do what I was going to do and travel and do photography, and it paid off. So have a nice day. Go outside and listen to some good music. My go-to on this trip was Lord Huron for obvious reasons. I finally got into their whole discography, and listening to music that was made to experience while on a journey in the desert was really magical. And I'm blanking, but more to come. Be good.